Hello everyone, welcome to Programming Pool channel and welcome to Learn JavaScript course. In this video, we'll talk about control flow using if-else statement and switch. We will start with theory part, then we will go to coding part. But before we dive into the concepts, don't forget to subscribe to this channel so you will not miss any upcoming videos. Let's start. So what is control flow or decision making? As we know, JavaScript executes the code from top to the bottom. However, JavaScript provides us a statement to control the flow of code. It is basically controlling which statements or block of code to execute after evaluating a Boolean expression. There are two ways to control flow in JavaScript: if statements, switch statements. If statement. An if is a single selection structure. As we evaluate the Boolean condition, either we'll select to run the if block or ignore it. Example, if a Boolean expression in the brackets, then after that the curly brackets here is the block of code. So if Boolean expressions evaluates to true, then the block of code will execute, or if it is false, then we'll be ignoring this block of code and go to the next line. So if the Boolean expression is true, then the block will execute. If it is false, then we'll ignore and the program will proceed to the next line. If else statement. So if statement block is executed when the expression is evaluated to true. So what about when it is evaluating to false? We have a solution if else statement. So if expression, first block of code, if expression is true, then we'll be executing this block of code. If it is false, then it will come to else and execute this block of code. Okay. If the expression is true, then it will execute the block of code and will ignore the else block of code, and then we'll go to the next line. Whereas if it is false, then it will ignore the if block and will come to else block of code. Okay. If else if statement. If we have multiple checking cases or multiple true cases, we can use if else if statements. If expression 1 is true, then it will execute the block of code, the first one. If it is false, it will ignore it, the block of code, and it will go to else if. Then it will check the expression. If it's true, it will execute the block of code. If it's false, it will again ignore it. Then we'll come to else statement. Any of the expressions here that is true, then the code will ignore the rest. Okay. We have some relational operators. We are using them with if statements. Here in this table, we are showing a list of them. Okay, so the operator like equal equal, or like assignment operator, it means equal equal. This will equal to, and we have two or double equal or triple equal. The difference is when we use if a equal to b, it will only compare the value, not the type. Whereas if we have triple equal signs or triple assignment signs, it will even compare the type. For example, if we have 5 of type integer and 5 of type string, it will return a false. Whereas if we put 5 of type int here and 5 of type string here, it will return true because they are equal, but the type is different. Okay. Now we have the greater than sign. If a greater than b, we have greater than or equal. If a is greater than or equal. We have smaller than. If a is smaller than b, we have smaller than or equal. If a is smaller than or equal b, we have another example here, not equal to. So if we have one assignment operator here, it will only compare between the values. Where we have double, like one exclamation mark and double assignment operators, then it will compare the type too, as we explain it here in the equal to sign. Okay. We have another type of operators which are logical operators used with the statements. The double and, which is and, will be if A and B. And if we have a condition A and condition B, they are true, then the if will execute. So both uh, expressions must be true to evaluate the whole expression to true. Okay. The or operator, which is like a two double pipes, and this one, any of the expressions, either A or B, evaluate to true, then the expression will be true. And if we have the A expression true, it will not even check the B because it's already true. Okay. The last one is exclamation mark, which is not. If A is smaller than B, even if it's true, because of the exclamation mark, it will turn it to false. So it is like a not. Whatever it evaluates, if it's false, it will turn it to true. If it's true, it will turn it to false. So it's like kind of opposite the evaluation. The second control flow is switch statement. If you have a value like a name, some value, if you want to check for the value and it has too many options like 6 or 7, using switch statement is better choice. And switch structure is switch the keyword, brackets, the expression inside the brackets. You can't here put like if 6 is equal to 7. So like you can put name here, like the string name equals some value, then put name here, then the case value 1, a colon, code block 1, it will be break, case value 2, code block, and then break. Default is optional, you can put it or not, but it is better to put it, and you don't have to put a break. So the break keyword is for when the value is 1 and it matched with the expression, and the code block here it executed. So break will prevent the code from checking the second value. If you don't put break here or here, then all code blocks will be evaluated and will be executed anyway. Okay, so make sure that you have a break. Okay, default you can skip the break because it's the last option, and it will only execute if neither of those values are true. Okay, and I will show you in the code example. Here, let name equals assign it Nabil, then switch name. If case John, do something a break. Case George, do something a break. Case Nabil, do something in a break. Then the default. Again, it's good idea to put always default. Sometimes you don't know what will happen, so it will execute anyway. Okay. So in this case Nabil will execute, and break it will prevent from executing the default. Again, if you don't put a break here, and if the value of name it was John, then John, George, Nabil, it will execute. We have another conditional or ternary operator that it will act kind of like control flow. For example, if you put condition here, then question mark. If the condition is true, then it will execute this side, the colon here. If it's false, it will execute this side. Example, const age assigned to 18. So const person assign it age is greater or equal to 18, the question mark here, then can drink, colon, can't drink. So because of the age value is 18, so it's equal to 18, then it is true. It will evaluate this expression to true, then the first canned drink will be returned to a person. Console.log will print canned drink. Okay, and I will show it to you in the coding part as well. Now let's stop talking theory and let's go to do some coding. Open Learn JavaScript folder and create a file called controlflow.js, and let's get started. From the first example, which is a simple if statement, let's create a variable called number and assign it a value of 6. Let's type the simple if statement: if number is greater than 0, then print to the console.log the number is positive. Run the code here. Note control, the number is positive. What if we change the value of the number to -6 and save it? Okay, now let's run the code. Nothing, because we don't have the other option if this expression is evaluated to false. So let's try and add the else statement. Else, okay, console.log the number is negative. Okay, now let's run the code again. The number is negative. What if the number equals to 0? So we have now multiple checking cases, right? If the number is equal to 0, or if the number is greater than 0, or if the number is less than 0. So in this case, what we should do is we should add another else if statement, which is the third example we have. Now, if we add another else if, okay, number equal to 0, brackets here, okay, and the syntax will be, so the else if statement, it should be before else. Else must be the last one always, okay? You can add multi if blocks to one after one, but you can't put else without the if. Okay, now else if number equals to 0, then block the number is equal to 0. Okay, let's run the code here. Number is equal to 0. What if we change the type but the same value now? Okay, if we change it to 0, to the type string. Okay, let me try on the code. The number is equal to 0. So with the double equal, it's not comparing the type, it's just comparing the value. Where if we add another one now, let's see what will happen. The number is negative because the negative is the last option and this is the default. If neither of the options are true, then the last one will execute. But here what we can notice that is when the number is the same value type and we compare it with the triple, it's comparing with the type. Where if we put only 2, it will compare only the value. And by the way, in a JavaScript, if you compare, like now it's string, if we put to 1, or if we put here 4, okay, now let me just run it. The number is positive. If I put minus, okay, now it's negative. So this value, I mean, in a JavaScript, so in JavaScript is comparing the value. In this case, we put equal, 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 then it will, compare the type too. But in this case, we don't have option. If we put, even if we put equal to, it will still negative. If we put it 4, the type, it's positive. Okay. Now let's give another example of like the else if or if else statement. Pet assign it to a dog. Okay, if pet equals to dog, and for my recommendation, it's always with the equal. You should, you know, like use the triple one. It's better. Okay, console dot log I own dog. Else if pet equals cat, console dot log I own a cat. Else I don't, console dot log I don't own anything. And by the way, I give examples. Both of them have only one else if, but you can add another one. Okay, so else if pet equals lizard, I own lizard. And you can skip the else. But if you want to add else, which is a good, uh, a good approach, else console dot log I don't own any pet. Let's run the code. I own a dog. If I change it to cat, save it, run the code. I own a cat. If I put, let's say, bird, I don't own any pet. Okay. Now let's use some logical operator. Now let's comment out all the code here and put const a equals or assign the value of 3, const b assign the value of -2. Okay, now if a is greater than 0 and b is greater than 0, then console would log numbers are greater than 0. Right, now let's add else if a is greater than 0 or b is greater than 0, then console.log one of the numbers is greater than 0. Okay, now else if and let's add the not. Okay, brackets a is greater than 0 or not b is greater than 0, console.log print something. I'm not sure what to print here. Else console.log neither of the numbers is greater than 0. Let's run the code here. One of the numbers is greater than 0. So which one is? The second one, because a is greater than 0 or b is greater than 0, and one of them is enough to make the expression true. Whereas here we have a is greater than 0, but b is not greater than 0. That means it's false because both of them must be true to equalize overall to true. Okay, now if I change it to 2, let's save it. Let's run the code here. The numbers are greater than 0. Now in this case, because we have both of the expressions are true, then the expression oral is true. Okay, so let's comment out the code here and give an example for the switch statement, and we will do the same example that we did for the pet, except we will use switch statement. Switch, okay, brackets, pet, brackets here, case 1, which is pet equals dog, or let's put it something else first, cat, colon, block of code, console.log, I own a cat, then a break, case, dog, case 2, which is dog, colon, break, I own a dog. We can add another case, which is bird, colon, printed, I own bird, and a break. Here is default, console.log, I don't own anything. Okay, now let's run the code here. So I own a dog. If I change it to cat, it will, I own a cat. Now if I change it to lizard, save it, run it, I don't own anything. Now let's take a break from here and from here. Okay, and let's put it a cat. Let's run the code, see what will happen. You see, I own a cat, I own a dog, I own a bird. So if you don't put a break in between the cases, it will execute all cases until the break. Let me take it out here. If I take here, I will execute all the cases, even the default one. You see, I don't know everything. So in order to make it work correctly, you have to add a break, break, break. For the default, you don't have to because it's the last case anyway. Okay. The last example, which is the ternary operator. Let's put the example const age assigned of 18, const person equals age is greater or equal to 18, question mark, can drink, then colon, can't drink. And it is ternary operator because we can't even put a block here. Okay, it's only one line. You can't put like brackets here and then add another line of code. It's only one line. So if it's 18 can drink, if it's younger can't drink. Okay, now let's print console.log the person on the code can drink. If we change it to 17, okay, now can't drink. Okay, this is the ternary one. It's useful in some cases, so you try to practice and learn it. With the example of ternary operator, we came to an end. You can practice all the cases yourself. Get familiar with if and if else statements, switch statements, logical operators, relational operators. It's very useful topics. In the next video, I will talk about arrays in JavaScript. It's very important, so don't miss that. Thank you for watching and see you next video.